The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Well, good evening and welcome to the 38th investiture of the Saskatchewan Order of Merit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. And to those who are joining us at home, across the province, both online and on television, through Access Communications, a warm welcome indeed. And I'd like to begin this evening's ceremony by acknowledging that the land upon which we are all gathered this evening is Treaty 4 territory and home of the Métis. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Jason Quilliam. I am Saskatchewan's Chief of Protocol, and it is a distinct honor for me to be your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Now, in a moment, I will ask you to rise for the arrival of the Vice-Regal Party. When they arrive at their seats, the Vice-Regal Salute will be played. But as a tribute to the Crown, it is played but not sung. And folks, if you have not already done so, I'll just ask that you turn your phones to silent. Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able, would you please rise? His Honor, the Honorable Russ Mirasty, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, and Her Honor, Donna Mirasty. Thank you. Please be seated. And I'd like to begin today by inviting Carol Rose Golden Eagle to come forward for an honor song. Well, thank you, Ms. Golden Eagle. And I'd like to invite Elder Betty McKenna to come forward to give us a blessing.
I'd like to say a blessing to all those receiving a medal that are their ancestors' answer to a prayer. The prayers those ancestors put out in the universe, and they answered it. Congratulations. This prayer is for you. Mam tawina, megwich chamanto, megwich ni mamaki, mayo gisika, and it is a good day. Kikitma kisamin kichimanato, mano kitma kinamason, kisa winamigo, kisa winaman, kinana mago migo, mam tawegan, jimikwich chamato, jimikwich, jimikwich. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder McKenna. I'd like to invite the chair of the Saskatchewan Honors Advisory Council, Mr. Mitch Holash, to come give the prayer for the order.
Good evening. We are in Saskatchewan a family of families, and as a provincial community together, I invite each of you to bow your head to acknowledge in your own personal understanding the life force that graces us, that brings us together, that connects us, and that sustains our faith and our joy found in each other. We ask divine blessing upon our sovereign, King Charles, and upon the Chancellor and members of the Saskatchewan Order of Merit. We acknowledge with gratitude their standards of excellence, the gifts of their time and their talents, and their faithful and inspiring devotion to the common good. We give thanks for the members of the Order who have departed this life and who are at rest. May we all have the spirit and the will to follow their example of loyalty, of generosity, and of service to others. We pray from our grateful hearts for our province and for our country, that we may continue to enjoy freedom and peace, and that we will be inspired to fulfill our responsibilities as citizens, mindful and embracing always of the well-being of all of our people. For this, together, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Holash. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'll ask that you observe a moment of silence for the members of the Order who we have received word that have passed since our last investiture. I'll read their names. George Reed, invested in 2013. Leslie Dubé, 2008. Constantine Campbell, 1998. Yvonne Hassett, 1991. And Victor Sawa, 2015. Thank you. Your Honors, Premier, former Lieutenant Governors and Premiers, Ministers of the Crown, representative of the Leader of the Official Opposition, Chief Justice and Chief Judge, members of the Legislative Assembly, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. 10 qualified citizens have been duly nominated and selected to receive the Saskatchewan Order of Merit for 2024, and all are present for this purpose in accordance with the Provincial Emblems and Honours Act. His Honour, the Chancellor of the Order, has instructed me to present to him these persons for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit and to read the letters patent conferring the order upon them, and I'll do that now. Canada, Province of Saskatchewan. Charles III, by the grace of God, King of Canada and his other realms and territories, head of the Commonwealth. 2, Mark Arcand, and I'll get you to stand. Brynn Boback-Lane. Floyd Favel. Thomas Hadjistavropoulos. Renu Kapoor. Curtis Kleisinger. Brad Wall. Malcolm Young, Greg Yuel, and Olivia Yuel. Know ye that in recognition of your outstanding contributions to Saskatchewan society, on the nomination of our Saskatchewan Honors Advisory Council, and with the approval and on the recommendation of the President of our Executive Council for the Province of Saskatchewan, we do, by these presents, invest you with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, and we do hereby admit you to the membership of the said order, together with the rights, privileges, and advantages thereunto appertaining. In testimony whereof we have caused these, our letters, to be made patent, and the great seal of our province of Saskatchewan to be hereunto affixed. Witness our right trustee and well-beloved, the Honourable Russ Mirasty, Member and Chancellor of our Saskatchewan Order of Merit and Lieutenant Governor of our province of Saskatchewan, at Government House in our capital city of Regina, in our said province, this 19th day of June, 2024, and in the second year of our reign. By command, Bronwyn Eyre, Attorney General, Scott Moe, Premier, and signed by Russ Mirasty, Chancellor and Lieutenant Governor, and sealed with the Great Seal of the Province of Saskatchewan. You may be seated. And we'll ask Your Honour to come to the stage. Tribal Chief Mark Arcand. Unapologetic but caring. Tough yet fair. Focused and visionary. Tribal Chief Mark Arcand has been described as a man of action with a focus on making Saskatchewan a better place for us all. I was raised by his great-grandparents on Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, in an environment that was admittedly quite poor, but it was also one that enveloped him with love, like the embrace of a warm blanket, and taught him to treat all people fairly and honestly, and to seek the path of what is right, and to do that thing always. Though his day-to-day job is in leading an organization that employs 500 and represents the interests of 7 partnered nations in the Saskatoon Tribal Council, his leadership extends to all citizens of Saskatoon, regardless of their nationality, creed, culture, or status. Now, his path to reconciliation has not always been without controversy, but his belief in the righteousness of the causes he chooses to battle for sees those in our community who need it most uplifted, assisted, and given a glimmer of hope that there is a better future for them. From the Sawayit Totan Outreach Program, the Miskasowin Youth Shelter, the establishment of the Emergency Wellness Center, or the formation of a vaccine clinic during the COVID-19 pandemic at the SaskTel Center that became a site of relationship building between the Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. Or the Walk for Truth and Reconciliation that wound all the way around Saskatoon on Circle Drive in what was plus 30-degree weather. Mark's efforts, which, mind you, are still ongoing, have charted a course that will see reconciliation between us all much stronger than would otherwise be possible. Your Honour, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a proud changemaker whose voice rises above the fray for those who cannot speak for themselves. Mark Arcand. Well, now that the tribal chief has got it right, you guys have no excuse. It'll be nice and easy for the rest of you. And we'll start with Brynn Boback-Lane. Come on up, Brynn. It's right there. Now, Brynn loves football, and she bleeds green, as anyone who knows her will tell you. We're just lucky that on a cold and snowy day in January in Detroit in 1982, where Joe Montana delivered the 49ers their first ever Super Bowl win, that didn't derail Brynn's eventual calling. Because it was on that day where the 49ers beat the Bengals 26-21 that Brynn was part of a choir that sang at the halftime show. And for the record, she's sung at Craven, she's sung at the Olympics, and even the Kentucky Derby. Thankfully, she came home and embarked on a not-for-profit career that led to her becoming the president and CEO of an organization that is dedicated to helping some of the most vulnerable Saskatchewanians, mothers and children, at the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital Foundation. Of course, Brynn is supremely cognizant that the incredible amount of support it took from all corners of the province that led to the completion of the hospital. But a project of this nature, it requires a catalyst. It requires a guiding light of inspirational and transformational leadership. And for a quarter century, thankfully for us all, that's been Brynn. Despite enormous obstacles, financial, physical, conceptual, and so many others, Brynn and the foundation she leads never back down. And we now have a state-of-the-art, dedicated maternal and children's hospital in this province that we can all be proud of. All this because of the proud Ukrainian girl whose summer spent at the lake north of PA, helping her grandparents run their campground, and coupled with the values instilled by so many strong women in her life, gave her the solid footing to navigate the incredibly tough road that saw our children's hospital built. But as she told me herself, nothing is impossible with love and hard work. Now, Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a fierce and passionate woman of action whose life's work has been always about the children. For her, it's for the kids. Brynn Boback-Lane. Floyd Favel. Poetry. Floyd told me when we sat down together last month in a cafe in Saskatoon. Poetry is constructed out of remnants found in ruins. And what an incredible statement from a man whose dedication to creation and art and in the development and preservation of his culture over the last 3.5 decades has seen him work in Europe, be published in Polish, and has impacted numerous international indigenous communities from as far off as New Zealand. These remnants, these fragmented pieces of culture brought together through decades of development, has seen Floyd create the Indigenous theater method, the only one in the world that uses Indigenous system to express oneself in their own indigeneity. And he shared that across the globe with others curious and committed to finding common ground through performance. Now, Floyd is thankful to his parents, his grandmother, and his cousin for teaching him to read, to allow him to absorb and learn stories of his ancestors, to learn and to retain his language, and to play act, and to develop a passion for his culture that he shares with us all. He's thus become, among many other things, a traditional knowledge keeper, a sun dancer, a playwright, a journalist, a museum curator, a university professor, and a cultural theorist. But his work remains rooted to the Battlefords and to Poundmaker. He's worked hard to revive the Chief Poundmaker Museum and Art Gallery. And he tells the story and the history of Poundmaker Cree Nation and the wrongful conviction of Chief Poundmaker in 1885. He's proud of the Chief's exoneration, the federal apology, and the correction of history. Remnants, all. Some found in ruins, but put together magnificently over the course of a lifetime, creating an extraordinary poem we're all blessed to be a part of. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a proud Indigenous Renaissance man, one who has tangibly linked theater to his community, his language, and his culture. Floyd Favel. Dr. Thomas Hadjistavropoulos. With apologies to the late Leonard Cohen, but hallelujah. Thank goodness for his first couple years in Montreal at McGill University, some 7,500 kilometers from his home in Greece. It didn't see Thomas return to a warmer climate. Interestingly, according to him, he didn't find winters all that bad. It's because he hadn't been to Saskatchewan yet. Now back to Cohen and what he meant by Alleluia, the song. He said, I quote, "The world is full of conflicts and full of things that cannot be reconciled. But there are moments when we can reconcile and embrace the whole mess." And Thomas has spent his entire career reconciling massive gaps in our understanding of pain management for some of the most vulnerable in our society, elderly patients with dementia. Prior to his work, there was little understanding of how pain could be assessed in those who cannot adequately express themselves. And he spent a career in knowledge translation, ensuring his research is applied in clinical settings internationally. Thomas is an acclaimed professor. He's a mentor to graduate students. He's an adopter of social media to promote his work. And he's published hundreds of peer-reviewed chapters of papers and books. I also found out he's a massive foodie. And he's a leader in his field as a past president of the Canadian Psychological Association, and folks, he's got too many awards to list. Thomas is truly at the apogee of an amazing career that will benefit millions with dementia in the future. All this because in late 1970s Greece, in warm summer evenings spent at the beach, his good friend only knew how to play 3 songs on the guitar, and 2 of those were Leonard Cohen's. And this sparked an interest in Canada that ultimately has led to him being recognized with our province's highest honor this evening. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a successful scientist who has spent his career working to conquer pain by first learning what makes people kind. Thomas Hadjistavropoulos. Renu Kapoor. Now next year, Renu and Don will celebrate 60 years in Saskatchewan as they immigrated from India in 1965. And folks, in those 6 decades, Renu has had an indelible impact on the fabric of our community. I think we all know this quote. Fred Rogers said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers.' You'll always find people who are helping." And I can't think of a more apt description for Renu, a helper. Someone who has spent more time than most of us have in this room been alive, unselfishly, untiringly, and voluntarily serving her province by helping those less fortunate. Now our efforts with such organizations as the United Way, the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation, and the Indian Pavilion at Mosaic. Her work with SaskCulture, among many other boards and charities, has seen more than $1 million raised and, folks, thousands of lives touched. She always looks for opportunities where outcomes will be people helped or the community made better. She identifies activities that are diverse, from health-related issues such as mental health and cancer, to cultural initiatives such as the performing arts, to initiatives impacting the individual such as education and literacy, housing, and programming for vulnerable women. One of her supporters told us, and I'll quote, "I have had the privilege of witnessing firsthand the many lives that Renu has changed, the inspiration of hope she has kindled, and the transformative stories of success that she has made possible." He goes on, "I cannot imagine anyone who embodies all the qualities of an exemplary champion for volunteerism more than she. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, an honest, loving, and good human being who cares for the people. Renu Kapoor." Curtis Kleisinger. Now, Mother Teresa said, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. And it's love, in addition to self-awareness, ingenuity, and heroism, that form the basis of Jesuit leadership, according to former priest and investment banker Chris Lowney. And folks, it's this unconditional love, this love that is concomitant with the other three principles that have seen Curtis Kleisinger give of himself to our community in a way that has seen incredible impact to a growing group of Indigenous youth in Regina. And love that will also reverberate through the years as the Mother Teresa Middle School continues to provide a safe space for inner city Indigenous youth to embrace their personal and cultural identity and to succeed in their education. Now, Curtis will be the first to tell you that he's been blessed with incredible support as the first principal and now executive director of MTMS. But his vision and his drive, and above all else, his love, has seen the program flourish. So much so that the first graduates of the program are now able to come back and teach and mentor and be the beacons of hope for others to break their own cycles of despair. Now, Lowney further wrote that heroism can't be measured by opportunity, but by the quality of the response to those opportunities. Heroes seize them and extract everything that they can from them. The focus, folks, is on goals larger than one person alone. Curtis will also tell you, erroneously in fact, that he isn't a hero. He instead focuses his efforts outside of MTMS on promoting veterans and military causes, those that he considers heroes. Curtis is an honorary Royal Regina Rifle, and he sits on their trust. And folks, he was the catalyst for the recent tour of honor that saw over $600,000 raised for a statue in France honoring the D-Day rifles, and a battlefield tour by serving members of the regiment. His board committees see veterans gain employment opportunities, be remembered, and be commemorated. If you'll permit me one more Mother Teresa quote, and I'll quote, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." And I would posit that the sum of Curtis's small things over the years, performed with great love of his fellow humans, present to us here this evening a man who has indeed done great things. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit a man of unparalleled determination, who has cast stones across waters that will create many generational ripples. Curtis Kleisinger. Brad Wall. And I'll tell you, there's a humbleness of self that exists in the Saskatchewanian that really should be studied. In my years in this job, I've had the privilege to meet and interview about 100 recipients of the honor that we're bestowing tonight. Invariably, the first question I'm asked is, who? Me? And I'm seeing some knowing faces amongst the recipients here. I'll tell you, our province's 14th Premier is no exception to this rule. Despite nearly 20 years as an elected politician and over a decade as the province's First Minister, he's retained a sense of humbleness, wanting to be known simply as Brad from Swift Current, son of Alice and John, husband to Tammy, and dad to Megan, Coulter, and Faith. And I'm sure this is unsurprising to those in the room who know him. But his interest in politics was forged early in elementary school elections, and thankfully for the province, entertained by his parents. And it was sharpened through the years at university and in stints as a staffer in provincial politics as a younger man. His successes in electoral politics and contributions to Saskatchewan as a politician are too numerous to mention in the short time I have for this citation, but I'll name a few. The bolstering of the province's economic well-being, the strong population growth, export expansion, infrastructure investment, tax reductions. Folks, the list is as myriad as it is impactful. There are many reasons why Brad Wall was, for the vast majority of his tenure, the most popular premier in the country, and why he had to continuously fend off calls to run for federal leadership. Abraham Lincoln famously said, I'll quote, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew." Brad Wall, through force of sheer will and incredibly visionary leadership, took a relatively new party from opposition to governance, saw it through 3 elections with majority mandates and 2 of the largest popular vote shares in our history, and in the words of a supporter, contributed to the prosperity of this province that will last forever. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a down-to-earth prairie boy with a common touch and a servant's heart, Brad Wall. Malcolm Young. Retired Colonel Malcolm Young is a shining example of the tenet that the Canadian Forces reservists are twice the citizen. Over 32 years in uniform as one of the most senior reservists this province has produced in decades, he epitomizes the military ethos of honesty, integrity, loyalty, and obedience, which he did while maintaining a busy civilian career. And he's given so much of himself over the years. On domestic operations such as Operation Peregrine and Lentis, where he provided crisis management and leadership in aid to the civil power for forest fires and floods. Or on overseas deployments in the most dangerous circumstances possible for someone in uniform. He was the senior NATO advisor to the Vice Chief of the General Staff in Afghanistan, where his expertise allowed him to navigate tense diplomatic situations, to lead negotiations, and to collaborate with diverse stakeholders from dozens of allied armies. However, Malcolm's dedication to the armed forces and to his country hasn't been limited to simply serving in uniform. It's in his devotion to telling the story of those who served that we must also recognize him tonight. He has, for many years, produced the largest Remembrance Day ceremony in the province. And he's the president of the North Saskatchewan Regiment Senate and its trust. And his advisory role within the Royal Canadian Legion ensures that veterans continue to be supported after they have left the institution. And Malcolm's efforts ensures remembrance aren't just limited to recent history. He conducts historical research and creates events to commemorate Indigenous and non-Indigenous soldiers and military history going back to 1885. His work, no matter the cause, has been described to us as selfless and conducted with rigor, patience, dedication, and professionalism. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, a military man of exacting standards of excellence, but also compassion and empathy, Malcolm Young. Greg and Olivia Yuel. Now, I have to admit, this is the first time in my 12 years in this role that I've had a couple receive the order. But at the same time, I can't think of a more deserving couple than Greg and Olivia Yuel. It's because the variety and the depth of their philanthropic impact to the social, economic, and athletic fabric of our province is unmatched in their generation. And it's only fitting that they stand before us all this evening as a couple to receive this honor. It's because they, as a couple, have a perceptive awareness of the needs of their community and of a responsibility to give back, and not only in a financial sense, but also in their time and efforts to build and to make better. And when you meet the Yuels, it's immediately obvious that they epitomize interconnected, complementary, but entirely opposing forces. Olivia's calm, collected, almost serene. And Greg has an intense energy, always moving, almost but not quite uncontrolled in his desire to attack the next problem. Together, this dichotomy provides natural order and balance to their world. In this world, folks, whether they're supporting the Wanuskewin Heritage Park, the Remy Modern, or the Friends of the Bowl campaign, or mentoring at the Edwards School of Business or Saskatoon Public Schools, or even spearheading the donation of 800 bikes to Africa. The Yuels, as it was described to us, can see a better reality for those who struggle. They step up and they make it happen. And they humbly share the opportunity with others. Now, what struck me when I met with Greg and Olivia was their authenticity and the notion that despite the frenetic pace at which their lives unfold, it's obvious that they get through it all with laughter and with a strong love for each other and their family. And their generosity, which changes what art, education, Indigenous culture, sports, and food security looks like in our province, strengthens Saskatchewan in a way that defies quantification. Your Honor, I present to you for investiture with the Saskatchewan Order of Merit a sensitive, forward-thinking, inclusive couple whose desire to make our province a better place is a gift to us all. Greg and Olivia Yuel. I now call on His Honor, the Honourable Russ Mirasty, for his remarks. Sir.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Quilliam. Jason does a remarkable job in the role that he has serving our province, and I'm always amazed how well he articulates what the descriptions and the citations, just very moving. Really adds to the ceremony. Thank you, Jason. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, bonjour, tansi, totimitig minano ahumarantik, tatamiskat na rakido. I extend my hand in greetings to each and every one of you here tonight to help us celebrate these remarkable individuals. It is a distinct privilege for me to serve as Chancellor of the Saskatchewan Order of Merit and to pay tribute to this year's recipients. Being invested in the Order of Merit is our province's highest honor. It is bestowed in recognition of a lifetime of outstanding contributions and achievements that enhance the well-being of our province and its people. I would like to acknowledge the current members of the Order of Merit in our audience. Thank you for continuing to make positive change in our communities through your enthusiastic efforts and optimistic outlooks. I'm truly grateful to the nominations of the 2024 recipients for their time and careful consideration. I also wish to recognize the Saskatchewan Honors Advisory Council and the Saskatchewan Protocol Office for managing the special tribute from the Crown and the people of Saskatchewan. The 2024 honorees are remarkable individuals, as we've just heard. Their extensive achievements have enriched our province in many ways, in the areas of healthcare, sports and recreation, arts and culture, science and research, education, public service, and the military. The recipients have worked for the benefit of infants, youth, seniors, veterans, women, Indigenous people, and ultimately all of us here in the province of Saskatchewan. I thank these esteemed recipients on behalf of our sovereign and the people of Saskatchewan for striving to do what is right even when it is not easy. Your resolve to reach your goals is an example to us all. It is indeed up to each of us to create the communities we want to live in. Sometimes the obstacles we face can seem overwhelming, but if we ever need proof that we can overcome challenges and succeed, we need only look at the accomplished individuals we honor tonight. To each of the newest members of the Order, thank you for your inspiration. You are excellent role models for your colleagues, neighbors, friends, and families. Congratulations on receiving this well-deserved honor. You can now use the letters S.V.M. after your name, and I hope you will wear your medal with pride. I also wish to acknowledge the family and friends of the members of the Order for providing the support that has been essential to ensure their success. Again, to the 2024 recipients of the Saskatchewan Order of Merit, congratulations, and enjoy this special event in your honor. In closing, as the King's representative, I am pleased to bring greetings on behalf of His Majesty King Charles III, our King of Canada. In the spirit of reconciliation and friendship, I will also share these greetings in my first language of Woodland Cree. But before I do that, I overlooked thanking the elder for the prayer and the honor song that was provided to open the ceremony in such a good way. Charles Nisto, Canada. Thank you. I'm ever so grateful. I'm very proud of the work that you have done and continue to do. Thank you and enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, I will ask you to rise and remain in your places until the vice-regal party, the official party, and our recipients depart. You're then invited to enjoy a reception, which will be 2 floors down near the convention hall. In the interim, the official party and our recipients are going to be having a group photo taken, and then they'll join you at the reception where you may personally congratulate each of the new members of the Order. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you're able. His Honor, the Honorable Russ Mirasty, Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, and Her Honor, Donna Mirasty. Go ahead.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today